true. As far as we know, that is correct. Or somebody using their same name. You never know, right? The hackers themselves claim that they did not install harmful malware on the affected streamers' PCs. Now, that's an interesting one. The hackers themselves claim that they did not install harmful malware on the affected streamers' PCs. If they didn't do harmful malware, one of the things that I was thinking of very early on, you had one player that had a UI element pop up, right? You had another player that didn't have a UI element pop up. But the one player that had the UI element pop up, where it's like the whole menu, it said vote Putin on it because they had put an extra joke in there. I'm wondering if that whole thing was just a joke image, where that's not even a real image. He popped it up to make the streamer look bad. Yeah, this is interesting. Virus is bad, harmful, and one can easily get in trouble because of them. No viruses will be uploaded for usual players and streamers. We are jokers, not clowns. Good. I love that quote. We are jokers, not clowns. Line. That's a funny line. Tonight we made quite a, in Apex. Hope you guys managed to check it out if anyone is interested. Okay, so no viruses in that case. No viruses is what they're claiming. The way that I always feel about it is when a target, when an enemy, an opponent, is making a claim, you can't believe it out of hand. You know what they're saying, but it doesn't mean it's true. They're your opponent. That's the point. And to believe it out of hand is fine. We'll put that in a potential. They said no viruses, right? Random, In an interview with TechCrunch, the hacker destroyed 2009 took credit for the hacks, saying that he did it just for fun. Yep, and with the goal of forcing Apex Legends developers to fix the vulnerability he exploited. That's pretty common. So if you'll find this happens a lot throughout the hacking community, is if you find a bug, sometimes people will report it and nothing gets done because it just it's a big company. Shit gets missed. And so they take it upon themselves to make it worse. Or they just exploit it because they want it fixed and they think it's funny to do so at the same time. Neither of those things is appropriate. Don't exploit it. The hacks, quote, the hacks never went outside the game.
Big one.
Now, that's an interesting one because that goes back to what I was saying before, right? If they had client control access to that player and the graphic that they showed up on screen, it could have been a fake. Like I was saying, it's a visual fake, right? So if he's telling the truth, then the guy's computer was never compromised, technically. What was being shown was a visual, right? Just a visual menu, not real. Not a program running on his computer, something visual in the game. Which, what funnier thing would you do than do that, right? 100%. Then who was connected to Hal's PC? That IP address was irrelevant. It looks like Hal's home network is misconfigured slightly, and it's allowing outside of his network traffic to ping him, and that was a scanner machine. We actually marked that out. It's already done. Yeah. The aimbot was real. That is correct, which means they had control over something on the machine, and that's the part that is interesting in this. The visual thing, I could see that being possible. The aimbot's more interesting. They know how to patch it without anyone reporting them, he said. Let's see. Without anyone reporting it to them. You know what I'm wondering? The more that I look at this, the more that I'm wondering if it's QA tools being activated on the client. Ooh. The more that I'm wondering is that, because aimbot, things like that, spawning in bots, doing all that kind of stuff, those are a lot of quality assurance style tools. It doesn't mean that they are. It doesn't mean it is. Right. But I'm wondering if that's something you can do from the server side to flag an account to be able to run those. And he's got some kind of an exploit to do that, and then he's running those things on the client. That's the only thing I can think of at that point. There's so many different ways to do this that that is an option now, right?
You don't play Apex yourself, is that right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit I don't either. So I don't mean to be speculating on all those, but maybe the QA or some API shenanigans, it's totally a possibility. So. Have
you actually seen the extent of what he was able to do with the attacks? Because there's a couple of things in here that are very interesting. He was able to do aimbot, right? He was able to do ESP, which is seeing through walls, on a remote client. These are all on remote client. Then so this is remote. We can do this on remote, is what he did. On local, he was able to generate packs, which are paid for acts of like cosmetics and stuff like that. He was able to generate thousands and thousands of these. Now, this could be done with server access of some kind, or potentially with stolen credit cards, right? Either of those could be done. And then he traded these to players. 4,000 of them to one player, 3,000 to another player. It's like loot boxes, right? So that's another thing that you do. And then the bots. This is kind of the extent of his attacks right now, which is aimbot and ESP remotely, packs and bots. specifically on like a local or server related access. For the bots, he requires the server ID. I doubt he got the server ID for the, tournament server. I doubt he got that. So I don't know how he got these. That's the interesting one. That's why we went down the route of like, hey, is this were those end machines compromised in this case? Don't know. He did during the tournament. Destroyer 2009 said he went viral, but not many people would have used an exploit like that in an absolutely innocent way for players. Just imagine if it wasn't a joke and we didn't put any memes in the cheat. I'm pretty sure you can ruin someone's career if they can cheat pop up on a tournament. That's completely correct. I actually talked to Imperial Hal about that specifically, which is if they would have popped that up in the middle of the game and they would have shown the cheat and they didn't put any jokes in it, they didn't put the thing about Putin in there, they didn't put like the TSM halal and they didn't put any of that joke, his career would be over. His career would be 100% over. He'd never be able to prove that that wasn't him activating cheating tools. And he'd be fired today. Basically, as a streamer, as a pro player, as a content creator, be over, and no one would ever believe him.
End of career.
Yeah, end of career. So Destroyer 2009 is completely correct about this. That statement is absolutely true, and I find that to be very interesting. Defending his actions in an attempt to show that he never had malicious intentions. He definitely had malicious intentions, just not malicious that far. This is already malicious. It's 100% malicious. To not see that is kind of a disconnect from reality for me, honestly. This is malicious intent, 100%, to do these things, but not that far. He could have gone farther, is really all it is. Yeah. So when he allegedly hacked one of the players and inserted cheats into their game, he didn't insert cheats into the game. We have no evidence of that. We've seen the images, right? A window appeared on the player's screen showing a menu for a tool that used to enable different cheats in the game. One of the options in the cheat window was Vote Putin. Yeah, so we saw that. Destroyer 2009 said that the window is a part of a real cheat software, but not one that is public, and whose menu was slightly modified for the hacks on Sunday. The hacker also said he targeted those specific players who go by Geburton. It's Jen Burton, isn't it? Not G. Burton?
Yeah, there's a missing an N, you're right.
Yeah, Jen Burton and Imperial Hall, because they're just nice guys. Jen Burton and Imperial Hall have like some of the highest viewerships of all those guys in those games, in those areas. So like,
what a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't believe him here. I 100% don't believe the statement of like, oh, they're just nice guys. No, shut up.
They're nice guys, and they have the most eyeballs on them.
Yeah, you did it to the people that are the most visible at the time they were most visible. Like, stop it. Stop being bullshit about that. There's no reason for that.
Right.
Yeah, it's clout. That's 100% clout chasing to me. Free attention and views for them, he added. No, it's not. Shut up. Like, this is about that whole justification, right? He's found internal justification for the actions. Oh, I'm improving their viewership. It's not bad. It's not bad. I'm improving their viewership. Like, shut up. This is delusion 100%. He's deluding himself into thinking that what he's doing is justified and correct because no one wants to be the bad guy. Get it. 100% get it.
Super pertinent for us to
details until everything is fully patched and everything goes back to normal. So he's going to release the details, which is good. That's a good thing, actually. I think that is good. Has nothing to do with the server, and I've never touched anything outside of the Apex process. Out of the Apex process, the employee angle is the thing at this point. Apex hacking global series, but destroyed 2009 at random. That was one of the things I brought up yesterday, was like the possibility of an employee account being compromised. Especially because you have that possibility, and then you have the layoffs right afterwards, so there could be leftover accounts that like no one's paying attention to.
I'm not quite sure what you mean. I'm reading Apex process as the actual executable, the running application, right? Or are you thinking, the game production process with employees and personnel?
I would say the game production process with employees and personnel. The reason why I would think about that is not even game production process, but like access to servers through an employee account, right? That's important to understand. Let me go look at this.
I guess I interpret it as, hey, the running.
So, yeah, you see this? No viruses will be uploaded for usual players and streamers. It doesn't say employees. And that's another piece of that. Gurn actually just brought that up to me, and he's completely correct. I've wondered the whole time if he has access to an employee account of some kind that would give him access to the servers. Now, remember, speculation. This is another route. Anytime we bring up something like this, it is a route of possibility, not a route of is, right? The way that we do this is when you are doing an investigation, you bring everything that is possible onto the table. Every single piece that is possible, and then you go through those and you goes, now let's test it. Was this actually possible? No. The IP thing doesn't matter. We mark that one gone, right? Let's say, injecting things into the visuals of the client. This is possible. So let's do more investigation until it's not possible. You're excluding all of the options that look potentially real, right? And that's why we bring these things are like, that could be possible. It could be possible that they have access to an employee account that gives them access to the commands that we required to attach all the bots and everything else that goes along with it, right?
Which is kind of wild to see in this context, in my mind.
Yeah, it's also important to before, like, right? any of the language that you see here too. We can't believe that at its face. Number one, it's the attacker. Number two, it is likely translated. The attacker in many cases has communicated in Cyrillic. So we've seen this here. Claims he's from Belarus, speaks in Russian, basic stuff, right? So it may not be a good translation when he says Apex process, right?
That's totally fair.
It could mean the client. Could absolutely mean the game client, like you were talking about. So yeah, that could be it as well. Despite the attention that hacks caused, Destroyer 2009 said the players shouldn't worry about it because he doubts others will figure out the vulnerability he used and how to exploit it before he gets patched. I know that's a little bit of ego from the attacker, but I agree with it. And the reason why I agree with it, he's worked on this for 4 years. He's talked about it very often. He's very proud of the fact that he's been digging into this game specifically for 4 years. But I think that has a time limit on it. I think it does. And I think the more that people dig, the more that people are interested in this. You've got one dude that's very dedicated at wanting to do this for 4 years and find all these different exploits. Going forward, you're going to have a lot of people that are like, I'm kind of interested in that, and they may find similar or the same methods, right? So I think that's got a time limit on it now, based on the amount of exposure this has. Yeah.
I have a semblance of solace where he says, I don't want to go into details until everything is fully patched and everything goes back to normal. Which, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit of acknowledgement of like, whoa, we just turned on a firestorm here.
Yeah.
And maybe now we're going to put the brakes on and realize, okay, let's wait until those doors and windows are boarded up. And then maybe we can spill our guts and, show those cool magic tricks. But to your point, we don't want to do that, even with a piece of moral and ethical compass there, knowing that could totally be used and abused in that sort of middle ground time frame.
Because this comes down to that specific thing with his morality compass, like what his general drive is. He sees this as jokes. He sees anything beyond this as being malicious. This is likely because of that moral compass, legitimately, and it's likely because he doesn't want anyone else to replicate what he's doing in a way that is more malicious than he would be comfortable with, if that makes sense. It's just whatever his level of comfort is in terms of like how malicious it goes. Like, this is malicious, but it's not malicious to me, so it's not malicious. But that guy did something malicious that's more than I would be allowing, and he used my work, and now it's personal, right? That's kind of a thing. So I think this makes all sense. I think what we end up being in is we're kind of in a holding pattern now, right? We're waiting for I don't think there's going to be more attacks right now.
No.
I think based on his mentality, if any of his real mentality is showing through here, which likely people do, they push a little bit out there, I think he's going to wait for Respawn to fix this. And then I feel like he would probably make good on his claim that he's going to release the vulnerability, which I think is a good idea. I think that's a good thing for closure for the community. And if he actually, wants to put that out there, it'll show, to be real with you, from the behavioral side of it, it will show the brilliance of his investigation to find the vulnerability, which is, to me, more likely of a reason for him to release that than to fix the game.
That's
hey,
his
look
trophy.
at the cool thing that I did. Goodbye, right? And I think that's more likely to me. That's more likely of a driver. Yeah,
that's his medal. That's his podium for a little bit. And I think that I'd agree. That's probably what he wants. And it's weird to boil it down to that, but that makes sense.
If I was in his position, I would too. That's the reason why I feel that way. I don't think it's wrong to feel that way. Like, he did something wild. He captured the interest of the world. He pulled off this stuff in a way that nobody understood what was going on, and he watched the house light on fire. There's a little bit of like, I did that, right? Even if it's a piece of shit thing to do, it's a little bit of I did that. So I can understand the position, right? I can completely understand the behavior, right?